Hey, that's me. I'm trying to build a $10 million startup from scratch. The catch? I've got no business experience. I'm just a back-end coder with a full-time job, a YouTube channel I'm barely keeping up with, and a wedding to plan. Most people would say this is impossible. Honestly, I kind of agree, but that's the point. I'm documenting everything. Building, launching, growing, learning. The wins, the screw-ups, and probably a ton of failures. And here's the rule. I don't stop until I hit 10 million, no matter how long it takes. Could be 100 episodes, could be 1,000. So if you ever thought about chasing a crazy idea but never started, follow along. You'll either watch me crash and burn or somehow pull this off.
Let's first go through the core idea of the product. So the idea is to utilize large language models to help YouTube creators supercharge their channel. So here are some basic requirements to get us started. We want to integrate with YouTube OAuth and analytics, so we'll allow users to sign in with their YouTube channel, and then we'll be able to pull some of their private data down and store analytics about their videos. We'll want to integrate with LLM providers such as Gemini, OpenAI, and Claude. One of the things I struggled with when I started trying to use like LLMs to help create content is just how do you keep everything organized, such as like your prompts and stuff like that, and how do you constantly iterate on your prompts to make them better. So I wanted to have a requirement in this to have some feature where you can easily extend prompts with new information from other like YouTube videos. So a bunch of creators will make great content and you want to like write down stuff or just save it to your prompt. So then once you have these prompts, the goal is to be able to use these to analyze your videos and give you constructive feedback. So we have access to all of the users' channel, so we can see their videos, analytics, stuff like that. So we can feed in the video, the retention data, and then like these custom prompts, and then I'll give constructive feedback based on that. I want a requirement around being able to analyze videos before you post it. And the last requirement for now is just be able to do market research. I came up with one more additional requirement for this product, and that is allowing users to share the video retention data publicly. I've actually started on this a little bit the past couple weeks, and I've gotten some downtime. I want to show you guys what I have so far so you get a better idea of what we're trying to make here. Under each user, one of the requirements said we want to have like custom API keys or like integrations with these providers. So I think a good plan would be allowing users to either input their like private API keys or have like a default API key for the site, and we'll just like increase the price based on that. So moving over to the next tab here, we have the LLM prompts like I was talking about. So you can create new prompts or delete anything, edit, copy, stuff like that. Let's say I wanted to create a blueprint on how to write a script. So I'll go to YouTube here. So this guy has pretty good content here. So I'll take his video and I can feed in this URL for his video, and then in the background, it'll fetch all the video data. So after you plug in the video link, it'll ask you to review what's going to be sent to the LLM. So what it does is it feeds in the base prompt, which right now is nothing, and then it feeds in the transcript, and then the LLM is going to add new bullet points for what it found. So after we click this, okay, so this is the output, and then we can see the diff of like if we had something in the original, what would it be? So we can just accept this and see what it outputted. So this just gives the key insights from the video of like how to write a script. So the first is going to be like packaging, outline, intro, body, and then outro again. So this is just from one video, but the cool thing is if you combine multiple videos, we'll copy this one. So we'll enhance this again. It'll process this new video and then update the prompt again. So it's just like keeps reiterating on the prompt, trying to make it better. If we go to the content creation hub over here, there's this flow where you can analyze your intro. It'll ask you for the intro of your video, the title, and then the thumbnail. So the second step here is it lets you select one of your saved prompts. So I already have a prompt for the intro blueprint I want. So we can see like what the actual prompt will be sent to the LLM. It just says, you're an expert YouTube content strategist. Your task is to provide clear, constructive feedback on the video intro. Focus on identifying both strengths and opportunities for improvement. Feedback should be actionable and tied directly to the context and best practice. So the context we feed was the title, the thumbnail, and then the MP4 file. And then the best practices are what is defined in my intro blueprint here. So now we can continue on and feed this into the actual LLM and see what it output. All right, so first it starts with the overall assessment. So this is like pretty cool where it says, revise the opening voiceover to pose a question or state a problem paradox instead of just stating the facts. So this one was my video of like day in the life of a 24-year-old software engineer. I just started off like the video with join along for a day in the life of a 24-year-old software engineer. Whereas like, here's an example of like something that might be more engaging for a viewer. Another tab we're gonna have is like a channel manager. Since we pull all the video analytics. You can show the retention data of each video. But the goal of this is to be able to have like some button here that like lets you analyze the video. So we'll probably have the video saved at a low res on the back end, and then you should be able to queue up like some async jobs to analyze your video, you know, given kind of what we did for the intro, where you just see like the title, the thumbnail, and then like the content in the video, and also like the retention data here, and then it would output, you know, where you could have like edited better or like pacing, stuff like that. So that's pretty much what I have right now. We went over the idea and the requirements. Now I'm gonna work with Gemini to figure out the next steps, or like the beginning steps for creating a startup. So if you guys aren't familiar with this, it's just like a platform where you can use the Google models for free. So you can toggle the model up here. They have typical text models and then image generation stuff. But we're gonna work with Gemini here to create us like a plan, since we've never really done anything like marketing or like market research for, you know, competitors in the space, pretty much anything. Like, we're gonna ask it to come up with a plan here, and then we'll step through that plan. All right, so I'm gonna feed my current doc with like minimal information to the AI studio here. I feel like it might be missing something, so I'm just saying like this is the first startup I've ever done, break it down by smaller steps in the general order that they're usually done. All right, let's first start with, we have ideas, some requirements. Let's do, honestly, the competitor analysis sounds interesting to me right now, so let's do that. Let's see what it says for strategic positioning. Differentiate on feedback, not just generation. Yeah, I noticed this too. They don't analyze the content. Yeah, custom prompts. Okay, I think that's good. Seems like a good start. I'm not seeing one site that covers our entire idea. So I think we have room in the market to take market share. All right, I'm asking what a good business model would be. So this is just suggesting multiple plans, which obviously makes sense. Having a free plan, a plan up from that, from probably just like your typical creator, and then like a plan for businesses. All right, I wanted to walk you guys through the architecture of how this project's set up. But first, I wanted to just touch on the experience I have. So I've been a backend software engineer for 5 years now. So I'm definitely comfortable with backend work. However, front end, I've done minimal work. So this will be a lot of learning. So right now I'm just vibe coding out a lot of front end stuff to get a proof of concept out, and then we'll go back and touch it up later. I'm also using Cursor as my IDE, and I'm paying for the $20 a month. I think it's the Pro plan. So we first start with the front end client who wants to make API requests to the back end. Our back end lives on AWS, and it's exposed by AWS API gateway. And then the gateway is integrated with a Lambda here. And right now our Lambda handles every single endpoint that the API gateway handles. So once the Lambda gets the request, it'll go into this class we have defined called the API router. So it'll look for the endpoint that it needs. So it could be like a user endpoint, prompt, channel, video, or OAuth endpoint. And then for each of these endpoints, we have a specific handler that handles like the CRUD operations or anything we need for these. So we can kind of see what happens. Like if it was a user, if it hits the user handler, it'll talk to like DynamoDB to get the user information or update information. And right now for Dynamo, we just have a single table design. So all of this information is stored within one table. When a new video is processed, we want to store the video transcript. So it'll call YouTube API up here, and it'll fetch like the retention data, likes, comments, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll update DynamoDB, and then it'll trigger an async job to fetch the video transcript and then summarize that. So it'll re-trigger this Lambda here and then run back through the video handler. But this time it sees there's already base information about the video in the table. So now it'll check to see if there's already a transcript, and there won't be. So it'll fetch the transcript for the video, and then it'll store the transcript in the S3 bucket and then generate a summary from the transcript and add that back to DynamoDB. So right now we're using Gemini to generate the summary from the transcript, but eventually we want to add LLM processing on the back end. So we'd have like synchronous and asynchronous processing. So if it's like a smaller prompt that can be done pretty quickly, we would just have that synchronous, and we would use the Gemini key from the user, or we could have like async jobs for longer stuff, like for like processing videos and stuff like that. And then on the front end, we have like a new tab where it can show all the jobs that you've had and what the total like number of input and output tokens was and the cost of that job. Our backend's all defined through Terraform, so it's easy to deploy and maintain. Right now, I'm just deploying locally through Terraform, but obviously, as you scale, maybe onboard more people, you definitely want to deploy this stuff in a pipeline. So as you commit, it would automatically deploy to your environments. But I don't think we need to do this right now. It'd probably be over-engineering at this point, but later down the road, we'll definitely want to do this. For the front end, we're just using Next, Tailwind, React, and yeah, I don't really know too much about front end stuff, but we're definitely going to learn as we go. Let's get started on implementing the backend LLM processing like I was talking about earlier. First, I'm going to have Cursor come up with a plan for everything I want, so I'll just discuss requirements, have it throw in a markdown file. So I think it's also good to split up front end and back end changes, so it's not trying to do too much with one execution here. Let me show you guys the prompt I gave to Cursor here. I said I want to process LLM prompts in the backend. There should be an option to process these jobs synchronously or asynchronously. The front end will call backend API to trigger a job. There needs to be ephemeral storage for files that will be used in the prompts, such as MP4, JPEG, or PNG. The DynamoDB table should store jobs under the current user with details such as job ID, input, output tokens, cost, duration. There should be a new tab on the front end where you see your jobs that is both synchronous and asynchronous jobs and view the result. Let's walk through the new endpoints database design S3. I want you to create an implementation plan for both the front end and back end, and then ask me clarifying questions. While I was doing this, let me show you guys what I was thinking on the front end here. Essentially, some of these tasks, like, you don't really need to wait for an LLM, and right now all the prompting's being done on the front end, so these prompts are stored on the back end, but when we actually go to call like Gemini, it's done on the front end. We want to move that to the back end. So I'm thinking we'd have like synchronous and asynchronous jobs, and that would be another tab here. So we'd have a tab for jobs, and you could see like how much the recent call costs and be like the result or stuff like that. I'm going to tell it to start on the implementation right now. I'll see you guys in a little bit to do a lot of code review. All right, we back. Got a quick shower and then had to do some work for the 9 to 5. Let's see what this produced. All right, looks mostly good for now. I'm going to tell it to continue on. I only did a chunk of the code. Oh, this code's honestly some slop. Like, provider should be an enum. Should have like a switch statement here based on the model, or sorry, based on the provider. Terraform's deployed. Now let's run this test. Let's see what's broken. All right, if we check the console here, we do not see the queue or the DLQ for the LLM jobs. I'm not sure what happened. All right, nice. I'm seeing the queues now. Let's run these tests again. I wonder if it's the parameters causing an issue here. Maybe the file size too. All right, nice. We finally got the test to pass. I'll show you guys real quick what it looks like in the database. So these bottom 2 rows here. The test just sends a hello message to Gemini. So we can see the response. Hello there, how can I help you today? And it looks like the output tokens is not working right now, but we'll get that fixed up. And the code is super slop right now. We're gonna need a pretty big refactor before we continue on. It's been a few days now since the last recording. I just wanted to show you guys what the website looks like now. The biggest update is we added the UI for the jobs. I've also updated the channel manager here. What you can do now is you can upload an MP4 for your video. So right now, I'll probably just use like a third-party provider to put in your YouTube video URL and download it at a low res, and then you can upload it, and then you can get feedback on the video. So you can see the kind of the flow for this. So we have the saved prompts. You can choose a prompt. I already made one for like analyzing a video, and now there's like template variables, so you can put in like the video title, description, summary, all this kind of stuff. If you make some updates to your prompt, you can either update the prompt that you selected or save it as a new prompt, and then you can also preview what's going to be sent to the LLM. Now the video file you uploaded will automatically be added to the LLM call. Once you click create feedback job down here, it'll automatically work with the new jobs endpoint we added, and then it'll be displayed over in the jobs tab over here. I ran this analysis on my second to last video. Let's just walk through what it outputted. So first the prompt, we can see it filled in the templates, and then it has the entire retention curve. So the result gives a summary, analyzes the hook. So saying I did good for the intro, which I think I did. This was like my best intro I've had. So this is great. So it looks at the retention and what happened in the video and tries to correlate, you know, what caused the drop off or the increase in retention. I'm gonna walk you guys through how this works too. It's very similar to the jobs upload flow. So the front end client will initiate a call to API router to upload a file. The router would talk to S3 bucket to generate a pre-signed URL, and that'll be returned to the front end. And then the front end will upload the file directly to S3. And then we have a different endpoint for the front end to commit the upload after it's successful. And what we do is we store information in our Dynamo table that maps to that S3 bucket, or sorry, the S3 key. So that's how I'm planning on storing these videos. I want to keep the size pretty small. Right now we're limited to 200 megabytes. I don't want to get to the case where we basically have a replica of YouTube. That'd be so expensive. We are back after a long day of work. Of course, we had to hit the gym. Let's figure out what we need to get to the MVP. I came up with a list of must-haves for the MVP. First, we need logic to use the shared API key when the user doesn't provide one. We need to host the front end. So I was thinking S3 and CloudFront for that. I'll show you guys how I've been using AI recently. So I've just been talking to it. I'm building a website that allows YouTube creators to grow their following. Specifically, it helps them get feedback on videos and do market research and see insights from other creators. My backend is built on AWS. It's serverless. It's exposed through an API gateway that talks to a Lambda and then DynamoDB and S3. My front end is using Next, and it just has static assets. What are my options for deploying this front end?
That sounds like a really cool project. For deploying the front end, you've got several great options. A popular one is Vercel, which works seamlessly with Next.js. And
what about S3 and CloudFront?
Absolutely. Hosting your static assets on S3 and serving them through CloudFront is a great option as well. With S3, you can store and manage your static files easily, and then...
So I've been using that mostly when I'm driving, if I'm just thinking of ideas and have some stuff I want to work through. But to continue on with these requirements for the MVP, we want to build out a minimal market research tab. Haven't started on that yet. We want to securely store OAuth tokens in our database plus API keys. And then we need to fix up some hacky core stuff I did on the back end. That should get us to the MVP where we can start getting this in front of users. All right, we might have finished the first bullet point here. Unfortunately, I thought of another one, so I added that. If it's working, I submitted a job and the billing's personal right now because I have a personal API key stored. If I go over to the settings and remove the API key, hopefully it shows up as shared. Showed up as shared, let's go. So first thing's officially done. I'm probably gonna call it for tonight. It's already 8:30. Hopefully we can get the MVP ready by Sunday. Right now it's Tuesday. Man, it was such a long day of work today. I was probably locked in for at least 9 hours. I'm actually excited to hit the gym tonight. I'm actually burnt to a crisp right now. Let me see if I can get the front end hosted tonight. We went on an absolute side quest. Absolutely nothing changed on the UI. We needed to move the auth to the back end because it was on the front end because we just wanted to deploy static assets. So I got that working. So now the front end's fetching tokens from the back end. Unfortunately, we did not set up the hosting for the front end and we added 2 more. Gonna wrap it up tonight though, it's getting late. Not too shabby, got a decent amount of cleanup. Now we should be ready to deploy. So next time I get to work on it, hopefully tomorrow we can set that up. Yeah, this one's for sure getting knocked out today. Just gonna make sure real quick that the auth changes I made yesterday are still working. Let's go. Uh-oh, what's the error? Hydration failed. Come on, bro. Let me feed this one to my little friend Cursor. Yo, he's cooking, he's cooking. 1 minute later, we back. Let's go. Thanks, buddy. All right, I think we're Gucci down to the slips right now to try and deploy this. I created a plan yesterday for deploying this. Might update a little bit and then we'll get after it. Hey, yo, we're live. See if it works. Bruh, uh-oh. Looks Looks like it's using localhost. Made some small tweaks on the back end. Let's go again. No, bro. Come on. All right, third time's the charm. You gotta be Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. There's just some issue with the callback URL. Probably gonna end it here for tonight. If I work too late till like 10 o'clock and then I go to bed an hour later, then I just can't sleep. I start thinking about it. It's 8:30. It seems like a good spot to call it. And the list did not grow today. Let's go.
So we'll take time.
After I got home last night, I started working on a plan for the market research tab. Let me walk you guys through what I was thinking. So a user would open up the tab, so it'd be a separate tab here. A user can save channels they want to do market research on. Those will be persisted to our DynamoDB table. So first, when the tab loads, it'll get the channels that are saved. So those will be loaded from Dynamo. The user can either like select the channels they have saved or add more. So on the front end, we'll call a new endpoint to see if the channel they have selected has been synced yet. So have we pulled down all their videos and all the information about the video or not? If there's like a new channel or we haven't processed it yet, we'll trigger the processing for those channels and then we'll persist that data to Dynamo. Now with the market research, we're probably gonna add some outlier score. Still a bit TBD on how we wanna do this, whether it's just like a common outlier score across all users or if like a user can go in and add a custom outlier score. I think for MVP, it'll just be a shared outlier formula used across all users, and then that outlier score would just be saved on the video in the database. So once we have all the channels they want and they're populated, they can create a prompt to do market research. And it's gonna be a similar flow to what we already have now. So once they choose their prompt, they can submit it. It'll create an async job and then it'll be sent to the infra we already have. So that's QSQ, and then it invokes the job worker. And then the prompt will be sent to Gemini with all the data. So we'll pull the job status, which is already what we currently have. And then you should be able to see the results in this new tab and also in the jobs tab. Last night I was also able to finish the work we need to do for cores, so let me cross that out. So right now, still left on the to-do list, we have the market research tab, securely store OAuth tokens in the database, plus the API keys. We need to have globally saved prompts, and then we need to fix a few flows that were broken after we made some changes earlier. I wanted to get this done by Sunday, we'll see. I'm also in the process of moving. We're moving in a few days, so I need to pack up. If I don't get this done today, it'll at least be a week before I'm probably able to work on this again. So let's see how much we can get done today. All right, it's getting late, about 7 o'clock on Sunday. Unfortunately, we're able to cross anything off. I got a good start on the market research tab. I'll show you guys what I got. But I spent a lot of the day cleaning up tech debt. So just AI slop that was produced both on the front end and back end. Probably a couple thousand lines of code. I optimized video processing. So before, the front end would make a call to the back end to process a channel, and then it would fetch some data from YouTube, and then for every YouTube video on their channel, it would just call synchronously to fetch one channel at a time, or one video at a time, so it was super slow. So what I did was, now that the front end calls to process a channel, it'll get the channel data and all the videos, and then there's a SQSQ in between where it'll send messages to, and then there's another, it'll run back into Lambda. So it's way faster now, way better user experience. On the back end, I cleaned up a few unused endpoints. And then on the front end, which took a decent amount of time, I added a better prompt editor. I'll show you guys that. So before the the prompt editor was really bad. Now it's like pretty much VS Code. You have a lot of like the keybinds here to do this, good color coding, stuff like that. And I'll show you what the market research tab is looking like. So you can go and add channels you want to do research on. So I added some channels to my niche here. And the general flow is going to be, it'll process the channels, then you can select which channels you want to do research on. So right now I'm selecting them all. Then you can apply some filters. So like the end goal would be to have some outlier score. I didn't get around to doing that today, but you could filter for like longer form content here, specific views, maybe outlier score, when the video was created. Then once you do that, you can select the prompt. So this is similar to the other flows we have. So I've already tested this out a little bit, so I have a saved prompt. But what you can do is plug in that prompt, and then you can use some of these variables here. So this is why it's cool. Like you can loop through all the videos and like, I don't know, get the summary or something. So we have this templating syntax where you can do whatever. So now once you have this, you can submit a job. So you can preview what will be sent to the LLM here. So you can see this expands out into every single video from all those channels with the title, views, and publish that and the duration. So there's a lot of different things you can provide in this prompt through like the templating. So now when you're ready, you can start the market research analysis. I already ran a similar prompt to this before, and we can see the output. I'll scroll through it, but if you want to read through it, definitely pause the video. It was pretty solid. But I think it'll just be better as you have like better statistics like the outlier score. So unfortunately we didn't hit MVP today. I think the market research tab was the thing that was gonna take the most time, and I feel like most of it's done. There's just some complexity on how we handle the outlier score with the way we process video, since it's like an async process. And to get the outlier score, you pretty much need you need all the videos in the channel process. I think like a basic outlier score is just the views on the video divided by the average views per video on the channel. So I need to somehow figure out how I want to do that in a scalable way. But overall, we didn't make much progress on the actual to-do list, but I feel like we made some good steps here, and the UI is a lot better with the new editor. The MVP is in a good enough state now. Now I just need to find some users to test it out and validate I'm actually solving a problem here and that people would pay for this product.
What's up, guys? It's Wednesday now. Holy. Finished up the MVP on Sunday, at least a good enough MVP, and then kind of been procrastinating reaching out to people for testing, but I'm going to do that today. I think the best method would just be like cold emailing them. I'll probably have to email like at least 100 people to get a couple testers, I'm imagining. But yeah, I don't know why I've been procrastinating this. Work's been pretty busy. I have a project that I'm working on that's coming up on a deadline. So that's been taking a lot of time, and I don't know. I just need to get this done so I can start getting feedback on the product. I guess I'm also just worried that there's not going to be a market fit for this product, but I just got to keep going and iterate on the product. If there's no fit, that's fine. We'll figure something out. I think I really underestimated how much work it is to find MVP users. I've tried cold emailing people, and then I've also tried creating a few Reddit posts and some YouTuber communities.
haven't got any traction yet. But I think one of the issues I've had so far is just not having like a landing page I can link to when I reach out. 'Cause I was just telling them that they could send back like their YouTube email and I would give them access, and all the email had was like screenshots and stuff like that. I just feel like the conversion's probably way worse versus if you could just link them the website and they could just sign in with their email right away and log in. The reason I have to give them access is because of the Google OAuth. I don't even know what it's called, like a project or something. When you're in development, you can only have 100 emails that can use or that can log in via OAuth. So that's definitely a limiting factor. So what I wanted to do was just have the production version of the OAuth app on the Google project, so that way anyone can log in. And then I would create a landing page with like a sign-in button and some of the features it has. Also, I figured it's probably a good time to set up like a dev environment and then a production environment, just so it's easy to make changes and it's not a pain in the ass to try and deploy something and then worry about like it breaking something that users are using. So I'm just going to set up some GitHub workflows to deploy the front end and back end and just have a pipeline that can deploy to dev and then production. The issue is I'll need to create another AWS account for the production deployment, have all my production resources live there. So that's more work, and I don't know. It's probably not a good idea to do this because I haven't even like validated the idea yet. Although like I was using it when I was making videos, but still, this is probably not the right approach. It'd probably just be like landing page and then just spam people, cold emailing them, or like trying to get in contact any way possible to validate your idea. I think I'm going to try this. I don't think it's going to be a huge investment, maybe a few days to set this up, if that. But yeah, overall recap is just, it's a lot of work to try and find people to use your app. That's why I feel like people with a following have such an advantage. You can just send out like a tweet or a video or anything like that and automatically get users to validate their product.
Yo, check out what we got here now. So if you sign out, got a nice little landing page. It doesn't look like the images are loading, but we'll fix that. Then I also set up GitLab workflow where it can deploy to the front end and back end when I make a change or push. Lastly, I'm adding a feature right now where when you go to process your channel, I guess I'll just show you guys one sec. So hopefully when you go to process your channel here, you can download all your videos instead of you having to upload each one. That'll be pretty nice. Next thing I want to tackle is how we can automate getting this data into the channel manager. Because right now, what I had configured was you just uploaded, you had to go to YouTube Studio and then go to the network requests and then grab the data and then upload it here and then it would show. But that's going to be a lot of work for users. So I wanted to automate that out too, just to make it easy as possible to use the website. All right, if it's working correctly, I should be able to process my channel and then all of the videos will be downloaded here. So we're looking for this get feedback to be populated because that only gets populated when there's a video. Oh, nice. Looks like we got a video for this one here. And we can see that the download status is completed. And we'll link to the S3 key so that when we go to upload the video to the LLM, we can download from this S3 key and then upload it to the LLM. So now if we go to the S3 bucket, there should be some more videos populating here. This is the one I already did, but if I refresh, nice. The folder names are the video IDs, and then inside would just be like the MP4 file. Let's actually try to get feedback on a video for one of the videos that was just downloaded. Uh-oh. Saying the file is in an active state and usage is not allowed. So I don't know if S3 needs to render this file or something, but I need to look into this.
It's always about you, always about you. It's always about you, I think it's so rude. It's always about you, always about you. It's always about you, I think it's so rude. It's always about you, always about you. It's always about you, I think it's so rude. It's always about you, always about you. It's always about you,
So there's actually an issue with the video I used 2 videos ago where I thought it was downloading the videos correctly, and then we ran into that error when trying to upload the video to the LLM. So it's actually downloading the wrong file, had the wrong extension. It wasn't an MP4, and in S3 it was showing the video file was like 50 kilobytes, whereas it should have been like 100 and something megabytes. So I spent the last 2 days trying to fix that. Let's say you have like a 20-minute video and the quality is 4K. There's no way you're going to be able to upload that to an LLM. So we'd add some logic to download the right file size so we can still upload it. Turns out I also needed FFmpeg, and unfortunately it's an executable, and the size of the executable is just too big. So you can't upload that as a zip to Lambda. So I had to convert the way I was uploading my code to Lambda differently. So I just switched to Docker containers because you can upload up to 10 gigabytes of file size when you use Docker. YouTube's API is lacking. I'm pretty sure you can only get like the retention data for all the viewers combined, and then I think it gives you like the relative performance compared to other videos. But as you can see on the graph that we show, we want to have other useful like retention data from like new viewers, casual viewers, regular viewers, if they're subscribed or not. So we just need to figure out a way how we can get this data from YouTube Studio without having the user have to go to their YouTube Studio, click on the video, check the network tab, grab the response in the network tab, and then upload it to our site. We need some easier way to get that data. I've been on the absolute grind the past couple days trying to get this website ready for production. I think I'm running into the 80-20 rule where you can do 80% of the work in about 20% of the time. A lot of the time just making sure like stuff's tested and you have the right security measures in place, and you can't get exploited. You have like rate limiting, all this stuff to protect you against real users or people trying to exploit your website. So I also wanted to give an update on the video analytics from YouTube Studio. So like I said before, they don't have an API for this data. And I tried a few things like reverse engineering the API, but it's just too complicated. I don't want to risk getting people's accounts banned if they end up getting caught and I'm using like their Auth to do that. So that's not worth the risk. I also tried using like a bookmark that tried to intercept the network request and then save it to the clipboard so they could just paste it in there. That didn't work. I'm thinking in the future, it probably makes sense to have like a Chrome extension that can do something similar, because that would have the correct permissions in order to do that. I'm not going to do that now, but that would just be a nice to have in the future if we actually end up getting some users. So yeah, I ended up just keeping that button where a user can upload more retention data. And additionally to what I was mentioning earlier, I added auth for every endpoint. So you need a valid JWT to call every endpoint. And yeah, just some additional stuff for protecting against like cross-site request forgery and cross-site scripting. Then I also added a new feature. I think I talked about this at the beginning, but I haven't talked about it since then. So essentially this feature is where you can go and see other channels' retention data. So everyone that creates an account here has the option to share their retention data publicly. And if you choose to do that, then you can also see other people that shared it publicly. On this tab, it says like you have to enable it. So it takes you to the channel manager where you have this option here, and then you can choose to enable it. So if I do that, then I might need to refresh, but you should be able to see my channel here, which now you can. And then you could search for other channels that have their retention data publicly, or like by a channel ID. But if I click in here to view my videos, it just pulls up a similar view to like what I have in the channel manager. So you can see all like the retention data and then all the videos. But the key thing here is like allowing users to learn from like other people's videos. They can use one of their saved prompts here and plug it in with not their data and just try and like learn some stuff of like how to edit better, or just like where their video went wrong, stuff like that. I think this feature is like super unique. I haven't seen this before, and I think it should attract a lot of people. Like it'd be super cool if you could see like famous YouTubers' retention data. But to get that, we have to get a lot of users. So, but yeah, that's what I've been working on the past few days. Trying to think what else we have left to go to production. So we set up the dev environment. So that's what's showing right here, this website.
Then we need to create a new AWS account for production and then deploy all those resources, get a domain, set that up, fix the landing page. Let's see what it looks like right now. It should be the same as what showed before. I'm gonna update the content on here. This was just vibed out in like a few minutes. So it's targeting more of what the website's trying to do. And then I don't know if I should try and set up Stripe before I launch. It's probably a good idea to have some type of like pricing model in place before you launch. But there'll definitely be a free tier. I just have to think through that of how I want to do that. What's poppin'? We have finally done it. We got it deployed to production here. You can see we bought the domain 10xcreator.dev. You can see everything's working here. I can log out, sign back in. Oh wait, this is actually good. I signed into a different channel, but this shows how we're using Stripe here. So I did set up Stripe too. What I have now is just one plan with a 7-day free trial. So it's $9.99 per month after that. I feel like it's pretty fair. So if I just go back to the main website, we should be logged in here. And then we can see that since I didn't sign up for the free trial yet, I'm not able to access the website at all. It just throws you to the settings page where you can start your free trial. So I'll show that. You just click start free trial and it opens up pretty much the same page here. So yeah, it was a lot of work getting another AWS account set up and fixing the GitHub workflow, just making sure everything's working correctly. You have to go through additional verification through Google OAuth because you're using some restricted scopes. Let me first just log in with my real YouTube account and then you can see the flow for billing. So as you can see, I have the free trial initiated here, but every tab is available. And then I can go and manage billing here. And I've already canceled the free trial, but this is what it would look like. And I can uncancel the cancellation of the free trial, but there's no need for that. And Stripe's nice because it handles all of the billing stuff. Like you don't need to ask. Like I personally don't need to store any like credit card information or billing information for each user. So that's great, especially from a security standpoint. So I bought my domain on Cloudfare, but this has some good stuff you can set up like the DNS and then some security things, page rules. I mean, you can see traffic and stuff like that. Then I'll show you how the GitHub workflow works. So as you can see here, every time I push to main or to a dev branch, it'll deploy to dev. And then if I want to deploy to prod, all I have to do is push a git tag and then it'll just deploy. I was talking about this earlier, but you need to go in and fill out all your information for Google OAuth. So like your branding, which includes like your homepage, the privacy link, terms of service. So once you have that, you actually need to go in and fill out what scopes you're using, justify why you need like sensitive scopes or restricted scopes, and then create a demo video that they'll watch. And after you do that, you submit it for verification. Luckily, this didn't take too long for me. I emailed them 2 days ago and then they finally approved it. But it says when you submit it, it can take 4 to 6 weeks. So I was kind of sweating this. One other thing that I didn't know you had to do, but for search engine optimization, you have to go in Google Search Console and like configure your domain, like verify you're the owner of the domain, and then like a bunch of stuff you have to put on your page. Like if I go to my URL here, you have to create a sitemap, which is just like a mapping of what pages you have on your page so that Google can crawl your page and index it for Google search. So you can see information here on all that stuff. What you're seeing here is the Stripe dashboard. So you can see what your revenue is going to be for the month and then any customers that have signed up. So that's what I'm going to use to track that. Overall, Stripe was pretty easy to set up, and it's nice it handles the billing for us since we don't need to store any of that data. I want to show you guys what YouTube's doing too. They're integrating Gemini into their YouTube Studio, which I'm not too concerned with right now. I think it's definitely good because it proves that there's probably a market fit for my product. But as you can see, when you're looking at your channel analytics, it gives you a few questions you can ask. So as you can like summarize your latest video performance. And then looks like you can have open-ended questions here. I mean, right now I can't do anything that our site can do, so that's good. And I think it just proves out there's a market fit, but something interesting to call out here. hopefully I can build out my product fast enough and good enough where we get users before YouTube starts implementing this. But yeah, recently I've just been cleaning up a lot of AI slop, tech debt stuff. So that's taken up a few days, not full days, but just whenever I get time to work on this. I think next steps would just be back to trying to find users now that we have this deployed to production. So I'm gonna reach out to people, try and get people on the site, get feedback, and then iterate on features and add more stuff. There is one thing I wanna do infra related. So all this stuff, like I mentioned earlier in the video, is on serverless architecture. But the issue is, since it's serverless, and if like someone hasn't been on the website in a while, the Lambda will have a cold start. So it's like 3 or 4 seconds, where if the user goes to the site, like right here, and then no one's been on it, like Lambda has a cold start and they click connect your channel. Since that's triggered from the backend, like to trigger the OAuth flow, then they have to wait like 3 or 4 seconds for that. So that's obviously not a great user experience, but I don't think it's really top priority right now. I was thinking we'd move the main application to EC2 and then have some auto scaling policy. And then we can still keep the serverless pieces that are useful, like processing videos or stuff like that. If we have the main application on EC2, you remove this cold start. And then also, once you get a bunch of users, it's going to be a lot cheaper than paying for like all these invocations. It's been an absolute minute since I last checked in. We've definitely made a few code changes between now and the last update. I'll put them up on the screen. But the majority of the time has been spent on marketing. So that's either like creating shorts, reaching out to people via email, or trying to reach out to people on Reddit, make posts, stuff like that. But I'll be going more in depth on this in the next video. Honestly, I feel like getting your first 10 users could take as long as building out your MVP. So this might be a little bit of a grind here. I'm gonna end the episode right here though. If you wanna check out the website, it's 10xcreator.dev. It'll probably be linked in the description. But if you have any feedback on this video or on the website, let me know down in the comments or message me somehow. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. We'll probably determine if I end up making another video. But for real though, how'd you even make it this far in the video? You definitely need to check out the website.